Folks, do you remember this clip? The clip heard around the world. The clip that will be following Angel Reese for the rest of her career. As long as her games don't sell out, as long as her games don't attract a good number of celebrities, as long as her games don't have any type of viewership motion, for lack of better terms, as long as all those three facts remain the same, this clip is going to follow her. Long since I've seen this clip, I forgot how arrogant Angel Reese sounded. I forgot how full of herself Angel Reese sounded. I forgot not only how nasty she sounded, the nasty facial expressions coinciding with her answer. You can see it clear as day. It's written on her face. She's disgusted that she's not getting the credit that she...
That commentary hits different now, doesn't it? Because recently at a Chicago Sky press conference, Angel Reese got asked about that exact moment, about her infamous claim that people watch women's basketball because of her too. And what happened next became the most uncomfortable 8 seconds of her professional career. Her response? 2 words, next question. That's it. No defense, no clarification, just a dodge that told us everything we needed to know. Here's what's really happening. Many of you have been saying this for weeks. The gap between what Angel Reese claims and what the numbers actually show is getting impossible to ignore. This isn't about rivalry anymore. This is about someone who made bold statements and is now refusing to stand behind them when presented with the evidence. So if you believe the story behind the story matters, if you think receipts should back up rhetoric, smash that like button. It tells us we're on the right track, because what we're about to unpack goes way deeper than one awkward press conference moment. Let's rewind to where this all started. Remember the 2023 NCAA championship game, LSU versus Iowa? Angel Reese and her Tigers defeated Caitlin Clark's Hawkeyes in a game that shattered viewership records. Nearly 10 million people tuned in, the highest-rated women's college basketball game in history. And in the aftermath, Reese didn't just celebrate the championship, she claimed co-ownership of those eyeballs. During interviews that followed, she made it crystal clear she believed she was just as responsible for those ratings as Caitlin Clark. The narrative she pushed was simple. This wasn't just the Caitlin Clark show. Women's basketball was exploding because of both of them equally. She wanted the world to know that her name, her brand, her presence was driving the surge in attention. And to be fair, in that moment, she had some grounds to stand on. She'd just won a national championship. The game had massive numbers. The rivalry narrative was white hot. But here's where things get interesting. That was nearly 2 years ago. And since then, we've had an entire WNBA season to test that theory. We've had real-world data about who actually moves the needle when it comes to butts in seats and eyes on screens. Reading between the lines of what happened at that press conference, Angel Reese knows what those numbers say, and she knows they don't support the story she told. The reporter who asked the question wasn't trying to stir up drama. They were simply asking Reese to reflect on her own statement from last season. Does she still believe people are watching women's basketball because of her? It's actually a pretty straightforward question. If you made a claim and you still stand by it, you say yes, and maybe give some examples. If your perspective has evolved, you acknowledge that and explain how. What you don't do, what you can't do if you're confident in your position, is immediately shut down the conversation. But that's exactly what Reese did. Next question. The room went silent. You could feel the discomfort radiating through the screen when the clip went viral, because everyone in that room knew what that non-answer really meant. She couldn't defend it, not with a straight face, not when the Chicago Sky's home attendance numbers are sitting right there in the public record. Let's filter out the noise and look at what actually happened last season. The Chicago Sky, Angel Reese's team, averaged about 8,000 fans per home game. Now, 8,000 isn't terrible for the WNBA. It's actually pretty standard. But here's the thing. Standard doesn't match up with someone who claims to be a ratings phenomenon. Standard doesn't align with being the reason people are watching. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever, Caitlin Clark's team, sold out every single home game at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. We're talking over 17,000 fans showing up consistently, not just for big rivalry games, for every game. Tuesday night against the Dallas Wings, sold out. Thursday night against the Seattle Storm, sold out. The contrast isn't subtle. It's not even close. And you know what? Many of you noticed this pattern developing in real time last season. You were watching the actual attendance figures. You were seeing which games drew crowds and which ones didn't. You were onto something when you pointed out that the Fever's success at the gate wasn't just about having a good team. It was about having Caitlin Clark. The Chicago Sky actually had a decent season. They made the playoffs. They had competitive basketball. Angel Reese put up impressive rebounding numbers and generated plenty of social media content. But when it came to filling seats, when it came to creating appointment viewing, the numbers tell a very different story than the one Reese tried to sell during that championship run. Now we're heading into the 2025 season, and the preseason games have given us even more data points. And honestly, they make that next question moment look even more understandable. Because if you're Angel Reese and you're looking at what just happened during preseason, you probably don't want to talk about your impact on attendance either. Her homecoming game at LSU should have been a massive event. This was Angel Reese returning to the Pete Maravich Assembly Center, where she won a national championship, where she built her brand, where she became a household name in women's basketball. The arena holds over 13,000 people. You'd expect it to be packed, right? Standing room only for the return of their champion. Instead, only about 6,000 fans showed up, less than half capacity, for a preseason game featuring their former star. Let that sink in for a second. This wasn't some random road game in a city with no connection to her. This was Baton Rouge. This was her home court. These were supposed to be her people. And they couldn't even fill half the building. The Chicago Sky's home preseason game against Minnesota drew just 4,600 fans. We're not even breaking 5,000 at her own WNBA home court. Another matchup with the Lynx up in Minnesota brought in 7,600. And let's be honest, most of those people were there for the home team, not for Angel Reese. These aren't numbers you can spin. These aren't statistics that need context or interpretation. They're just facts. Cold, hard attendance figures that paint a very clear picture. And that picture doesn't show someone who's driving a revolution in women's basketball viewership. It shows typical WNBA attendance at best. Now here's where I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, are we going to see the Chicago Sky sell out games this season? Are Angel Reese's fans really basketball fans? Or are they social media followers who don't actually show up to the arena? Because connecting the dots between her online presence and actual ticket sales, there's a massive gap. And I want to know if you think that changes this year or if the pattern just continues. You were onto something when you noticed that Reese's mom jumped on social media right after that LSU homecoming game trying to do damage control. She posted on X. And I'm paraphrasing here, something about how certain fan bases celebrate attendance while others celebrate championship banners. Different years, same haters. Have a great day. The defensive tone says everything. When you can't win the argument with facts, you attack the people pointing out the facts. But here's the thing, nobody's hating on championship banners. LSU's title is legitimate. Angel Reese earned that ring. What we're questioning is whether she can back up her specific claim about being a draw, about being the reason people watch. And that mom's tweet, as defensive as it was, didn't provide a single attendance figure to counter the narrative. Because she can't. The numbers are what they are. Let's talk about what a real ratings draw looks like. Because while Angel Reese is dodging questions and her team is struggling to fill arenas, Caitlin Clark is quietly rewriting every attendance and viewership record in women's basketball. And she's doing it without making grand proclamations about herself. She's letting the results speak. Last season, Clark's rookie year, the Indiana Fever didn't just improve their attendance. They obliterated their previous records, games that used to draw maybe 7,000 or 8,000 suddenly had waiting lists. Season ticket packages that sat unsold for years were gone within hours of her being drafted. The Fever went from one of the least attended teams in the league to having one of the toughest tickets to get in all of professional basketball. And this wasn't just a home court phenomenon. When the Fever traveled, opposing teams saw their attendance double or triple. The Connecticut Sun, the Las Vegas Aces, the New York Liberty, all of them promoted Fever games differently than other matchups because they knew what was coming. They knew Caitlin Clark meant sold-out buildings and premium ticket prices. The TV ratings tell the same story. Games featuring Clark consistently pulled over 1 million viewers. Some cracked 2 million. For context, a typical WNBA game without major stars might draw 300,000 viewers. Clark's presence multiplied the audience by factors of 3 de make, 4, sometimes 7. That's not normal growth. That's transformational impact. Jersey sales. Clark's Indiana Fever jersey became the fastest-selling women's basketball jersey in history, not just WNBA history. All of women's basketball, she outsold entire teams by herself. The league's online store crashed multiple times because of demand for her merchandise. When's the last time you heard about a Chicago Sky jersey breaking the internet?
The message was clear. Women's basketball needed both of them equally.
So Angel Reese was asked about this exact statement, and she decided to duck out. Keep in mind, whoever asked this, and there's people clowning the person that asked this, it was her statement going during the basketball season from last year, and the person's asking for her current feelings on said statement, her own statement. She pulled a next question. She ducked that. She duck goose that right out of it.
The message was clear. Women's basketball needed both of them equally. So Angel Reese was asked about this exact statement, and she decided to duck it. Now keep in mind, whoever asked this, and there's people clowning the person that asked this, it was her statement going during the basketball season from last year, and the person asking for her current feelings on said statement. Her own statement. She pulled the next question. She ducked that. She duck, goose that, right out of existence. Here's what makes this whole situation so revealing. Angel Reese voluntarily went on a rant about people watching because of her, too. She created that narrative. She asked for that attention. So when a reporter circles back as we enter a new season and asks if she still believes that, it's not stirring things up. It's perfectly normal follow-up journalism. You made a claim. Do you stand by it? And her inability to answer speaks volumes, because somewhere between that championship celebration and this press conference, reality arrived. The WNBA season happened. The attendance numbers got published. The TV ratings got reported. And all of it confirmed what many of you suspected all along. The Caitlin Clark effect is real and measurable. The Angel Reese effect, not so much. This isn't about diminishing Reese's basketball skills. She's a talented player. She's an elite rebounder. She's going to have a long WNBA career. But being a good player and being a transcendent draw are two completely different things. You can be successful without being the reason millions of people tune in, and there's no shame in that. Most professional athletes, even great ones, don't move needles the way someone like Clark does. The shame comes from claiming you do when you don't, from positioning yourself as co-equal with someone who's operating on a completely different level of impact, from making bold statements and then running away from them when someone asks you to back them up. We're going to find out very quickly this season who among the Chicago Sky fans are really and truly basketball fans, or are they Angel Reese the content creator fans? Because you've got some folks obviously tuning in for basketball, but is it because of Angel Reese, or for the best interest of the Chicago Sky team and wanting to see them win ball games? The 2025 season is going to answer a lot of questions. We're going to see if Reese can actually build on her rookie year and start filling arenas. We're going to see if her social media following translates to ticket sales. We're going to see if she can create must-see TV moments that make casual fans tune in. Or we're going to see more of what we saw in preseason: half-empty arenas, modest ratings, and a growing gap between her rhetoric and her reality. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark doesn't need to make claims about her impact because everybody can already see it. Sold-out arenas, record-breaking merchandise sales, TV deals getting renegotiated because of the numbers she pulls. That's what a real draw looks like. That's what it means to actually be the reason people are watching. So before we wrap up, if you found this breakdown valuable, if you appreciate us filtering through the hype to get to the facts, make sure you're subscribed with notifications on. Because we're tracking this story all season long, every time attendance numbers drop, every time viewership data gets released, every time the gap between perception and reality becomes impossible to ignore, we're going to be here breaking it down for you. And we've got a video coming next week that's going to blow your mind. We're looking at the financial impact Caitlin Clark is having on the entire WNBA, how much money she's bringing into the league, how her presence is affecting TV deals, sponsorships, and league-wide revenue. The numbers are going to shock you. You're not going to want to miss it. Look, some players talk about transforming women's basketball. Caitlin Clark is actually doing it. Some players claim they're the reason for record viewership. Clark is the proven reason. And when you can't defend your claims with evidence, when a simple question makes you say, "Next question," and move on, that tells us everything we need to know. The receipts are in. The verdict is clear, and no amount of dodging is going to change what the numbers say. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.